In times of war or natural disasters, many countries struggle to recover without external help. Often, nations like the United States or England will eventually end their relief efforts, but Saudi Arabia tends to stay involved. They specifically focus on refugee support and disaster relief, and are known for their substantial contributions. For instance, in 2006, Saudi Arabia was the world's largest donor, providing aid to many countries. That year, they donated $10 million to the Horn of Africa through the World Food Program, with $1 million going directly to Kenya, which greatly benefited from this generous assistance. Additionally, in the same year, Saudi Prince Al-Walid bin Talal donated $1 million to help feed 3.5 million Kenyans during a severe drought. These significant contributions likely earned the Saudi government gratitude from Kenya. However, Saudi donations often come under scrutiny for a major reason. They predominantly aid Muslim countries, reflecting a religious bias. While supporting Muslim countries isn't inherently wrong, many see it as unethical to base humanitarian assistance on religious affiliation. Nonetheless, between 1976 and 1987, Saudi development aid donations reached $49 billion, showing their ongoing commitment to global aid. But as we delve deeper, you'll discover some secrets that might challenge the positive view of Saudi Arabia's charitable efforts. Saudi Arabia is often stereotyped as a country where women face significant inequality, both legally and socially. While women's rights still have a long way to go, the Saudi leadership has made some efforts toward change. Over the past 8 years, women's rights in Saudi Arabia have seen gradual progress. For example, in 2016, only 19% of women were employed. By 2022, this number had increased to 36%. In June 2018, the government finally legalized driving for women after years of protests. Furthermore, women's access to education has improved, with 96% of women now attending schools. In Islam, the Quran teaches that a woman's role is to be the best wife she can be. And while this belief is respected, women who do not adhere to it should have the opportunity for education and employment. These advancements have placed Saudi Arabia in a more positive light. And if progress continues at this rate, women could have fairer opportunities by 2040. However, as you'll learn later, some hidden aspects could hinder this progress. Another positive development in Saudi Arabia is its effort to combat climate change. The country's wealth largely comes from its vast oil reserves, which contribute significantly to its carbon footprint. To address this, Saudi Arabia has invested in sustainable energy sources to reduce its impact on global warming. One of their most notable investments is in solar energy. The country benefits from abundant sunlight year-round, making solar power a reliable and sustainable energy source. One of the world's largest solar farms is in Saudi Arabia, featuring 1.2 million panels spread over 6 square kilometers, with a production capacity of 300 megawatts, enough to power 180,000 homes daily. Saudi Arabia is also rapidly developing wind energy, with 3 wind farms across different regions generating over 500 megawatts, enough to power 300,000 homes. These efforts indicate a strong commitment to sustainability, and it's likely that these numbers will only increase in the future. However, what if all these positive strides, donations, women's rights advancements, and climate initiatives are simply a facade for something more sinister? What if they're all part of a cover-up for a much darker operation? Stay tuned as we explore the hidden secrets of Saudi billionaires and the potential dark side of their motives. Despite the advancements in women's rights mentioned earlier, there's reason to believe that these reforms are more about improving the country's image than genuine progress. For example, did you know that it is technically legal to sexually assault a woman in Saudi Arabia? In Saudi law, when a woman marries, she is seen as submitting to her husband, essentially becoming one of his possessions. This interpretation implies that she must fulfill his desires, including sexual ones, regardless of her consent. In Islam, premarital sex is prohibited. But before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on wealthy kings. Let's continue now. While it is understandable that some societies have strong beliefs about women's roles, forcing women to adhere to these beliefs is unacceptable in modern society. In Saudi Arabia, for example, the hierarchical structure of marriage, where the husband is often viewed as owning his wife, can lead to serious issues such as domestic abuse. The lifetime prevalence of domestic violence against women in Saudi Arabia ranges from 20% to 39%, depending on the region. These numbers are alarmingly high, and there appears to be little government action to reduce this troubling statistic. This is not the only way Saudi Arabia discriminates against women. The country enforces a strict dress code, requiring women to cover their entire bodies. This rule can be extremely difficult to follow given the intense heat of the region, yet it is strictly enforced. Tourists have a bit more freedom in their attire, but women visiting the country must still be cautious. Dresses and skirts must extend below the knees, and shoulders and stomachs should not be visible in public. Violating these dress codes can lead to imprisonment. But the discrimination against women is only one aspect of the broader human rights issues in Saudi Arabia. The government is also known for suppressing free speech, a fundamental component of any democracy. King Salman has stated that Saudis have the right to criticize the government's work. But the reality is far from this claim. Many bloggers, activists, and women's rights defenders have faced prosecution, imprisonment, and travel bans for speaking out about human rights. Even more concerning is the use of capital punishment in Saudi Arabia, where executions are commonly carried out by beheading. Saudi Arabia is the only country in the world that still uses people can be put to death for being homosexual, dealing drugs, or committing treason. On average, around 140 people are executed each year, a chilling number. The government also uses torture to extract confessions or punish those who are deemed guilty. Methods include whipping, beating with electric rods, and suspending people by their wrists. Such practices cause unbearable pain and should not be legal anywhere in the world. Finally, Saudi Arabia's restrictions on religious freedom also violate basic human rights. It is illegal to own religious items that are not Islamic, and worshiping a god other than Allah can result in imprisonment. While the laws are somewhat more lenient for tourists, the restrictions still stand in stark contrast to the concept of religious freedom. Here's a revised version of your script that maintains the key points while improving clarity and flow. It seems likely that Saudi Arabia allows this mainly to keep tourists coming into the country, as tourism generates significant revenue. However, if you're planning to visit, be aware of the restrictions on religious freedom. Reading a non-Muslim religious text in public or spreading any faith other than Islam can lead to imprisonment, leaving you stranded far from home and family. While a break from work might sound appealing, it's not worth facing prison time. On the topic of work, conditions in Saudi Arabia are reported to be among the worst in the world. Many Saudi billionaires profit from industries that rely heavily on migrant labor, resulting in the exploitation of the poor by business owners. Most workplaces are characterized by poor conditions, a lack of basic rights, and wages so low that employees have no disposable income. Workers are often referred to as servants, reflecting the general disregard for their well-being. The situation is even more dire for foreign workers who face additional hardships. There have been cases where foreign workers were sexually assaulted, exploited, underpaid, or even left unpaid entirely. Some have been physically abused, overworked, and confined to their workplaces. These conditions are comparable to modern-day slavery, highlighting the urgent need for reform. For those who are paid, the minimum wage in Saudi Arabia is still exceptionally low. Recently, it was raised from 3,000 to 4,000 Saudi riyals per month, which amounts to roughly $12,000 a year. While this increase may seem generous, it remains low compared to international standards. Moreover, there's a distinction between the minimum wage for Saudi workers and foreign workers, allowing business owners to exploit them easily. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.